betrayed.
It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
What is up, dudes and dudettes, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. And don't forget the United Wrestling Network. I almost got that one wrong. Guys, it's May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you if you celebrate, but please celebrate responsibly. Make sure you unsheath your lightsaber before you attack a clone trooper with it. And there's a little Star Wars humor for you. Real quick, before we get into the pre-party, I want to wish my dear friends Johnny and Lindsay on their nuptials. They are getting married. John Randall and his beautiful bride Lindsay are getting married today. In fact, they're getting married right now. But due to social distancing, I can't be at the wedding anyway. So I'm here with you guys to talk NWA. So it's a beautiful day as far as I'm concerned. This is a beautiful day, and I'm excited because we're talking some wrestling. We're talking some NWA wrestling. And I want to know, how are you guys doing? We got a lot of questions recently on the Instagram. That's a new feature we're trying to do. We're going to try to answer some of your questions from Instagram. So if you guys are on Instagram, follow us at instagram.com/The Alliance Blog. We're going to try to answer some of your questions. And I have a couple of good ones right now. So without any further ado, let me get to some of them real quick. If you wouldn't mind, please bear with me. Let's see. How do I get to them? Oh, great. Okay, the first question is, if Trevor Murdoch becomes the de facto challenger to Nick Aldis, who's going to challenge Chris Adonis for that national championship? And that's a great question. That title has been essentially ignored since Chris Adonis has won that championship. And with a pay-per-view looming literally just 30 days away from today, or 32 days away from today, I don't know who they're going to crown as the next, who's going to challenge, let alone crown, the next national champion. In my heart of hearts, I'm thinking that, I don't know, there's a big giant question mark, isn't there? I mean, Slice Boogie and Jax Dane have beef to settle. We know that we have an NWA tag team champions who are currently in turmoil. So could Aaron Stevens try to make a run back at that a national championship? I mean, that's a possibility. Of course, I mean, those tag titles, that issue has to be resolved before Stevens is cleared to go do that. So who knows? Maybe they won't even have a national title match at the next pay-per-view. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Sammy Two Cups said, when is Joe Henning going to make his debut? I mean, it would be nice if Joe Henning was scheduled to make his debut for the NWA, but as far as I know, I mean, he's been without a contract for almost a year now and hasn't been anywhere near an NWA ring. I don't know if he will be anywhere near an NWA ring. I don't think he'll be coming to the NWA. I mean, if he would have been, he probably would have been here by now, right? I mean, that, at least that's my thought. The next question is, what year do they make the NWA show? That question's a little confusing because the NWA show is currently being made right now. I mean, NWA POWERRR and POWERRR SURGE are both products of Lightning One of this modern day National Wrestling Alliance. So that show is currently being in production as we speak. Older NWA shows, the NWA Showcase or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I mean, those shows date back to 2012, 2011, 2010, 2008, 2009, 2007. So I'm not sure if that's what they were asking about. And see. Is it just me, or has the national title taken a back seat? I mean, the national title has basically gone the way of the dinosaurs. The Pope has been regularly defending the television title on the program. The Women's Championship has been yet to be seen on this season of NWA Power because Serena Deeb has been injured. Furthermore, the tag team titles have not been defended since the NWA has been back. The World Championship has only been defended on pay-per-view since the NWA has been back. And of course, the national title changed hands on the first episode of NWA, or the second episode, of the returning NWA Power. So, yeah, I mean, the whole title picture is in flux. The whole thing, everything is in flux. The only constant that we know is that the Pope is going to bring it, and he always does. And the world's heavyweight champion is going to continue to duck challengers left and right. Yeah, I said it. He's ducking challengers. That'll get me heat with Dr. Stinson, won't it? The last question I have here is... actually, I have two more questions. Why do they hate the tag team division? Do you guys feel like the NWA hates the tag team division? It seems like that's been the weakest link for the National Wrestling Alliance since day one. I mean, we had this great Crockett Cup tournament. We crowned new champions in the Villains Enterprise, right? That was PCO and Brody King. We had really great tag team champions. Then they dropped the titles to the Wild Card, which was another really good tag team, Royce Isaacs and Tom Latimer. And when Power starts, I mean, there isn't a whole lot of competition. I mean, yes, there was Kingston and Homicide, but Homicide was never completely healthy when he appeared. And then, of course, the Rock and Roll Express would end up winning the tag team titles. I know you had the Dawsons as well, but again, there wasn't really a solid tag team, which made it very easy for just two really good singles wrestlers in Eli Drake and James the Cowboy Storm to win those tag titles. And then nothing since, right? They won those titles, and then the tag titles were traded hands on Primetime Live with Kratos and Stevens, and there has been really a lack of good tag teams to even challenge for those titles. Now, one of the hallmarks of this new era of the NWA was this inclusion of talent. We saw an influx. We saw Jack Stane, who'd been around for the last season of NWA Power, teaming with his regular partner Crimson, who is now cleared to wrestle. And you would think, wow, there's a great tag team. And then they brought in The End, which was Odinson and Paro making his return. And again, another great tag team. And they were dispatched by the Strictly Business duo. So I can't really tell you that the NWA loves tag teams. And it seems like they have a lot of good tag teams in the promotion, just not doing a whole lot with them. And the last question I have is, when do you think Nick Aldis will defend the 10 pounds of gold again? And I'll be honest, man, I don't know when that guy's going to defend the title again. I am assuming it's going to be when Our Shadows Fall, the next, in a weird titled name for a pay-per-view, but that's the next time I suspect we will see Nick Aldis defend the 10 pounds of gold. But that's just me, who knows. And so now I see all my friends are here in the chat room, so I'm going to just say hello to everyone. I see that Stan's in the house. We got the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. Don't you know that they're Alliance certified? Give them a follow. Lamb's in the house. Terry McDermott's here. Dave Scooby's in the house. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We got Willie Bowen. Willie's here. Fiona's here. Guys, this is so awesome. I'm so happy that you guys are here every week, week in and week out. We have so much fun here on the pre-party. And we're getting you hyped up, man. I hope you're hyped up. We're talking about the NWA. Quick question. Does the video seem a little off today? Feels a little off. Real quick. I just have to send out this message real quick. So, what are we doing tonight? We're Power Surge. Now, we've got one match scheduled, and that's great. I mean, would I love to see a show chock full of wrestling? Absolutely. Would I love to see a 3-hour show packed to the gills with pro wrestling? Yes. But that's not what we're going to get. We're going to get a couple of promos, a couple of unseen videos, and probably a few highlight packages and a matchup. That's what POWERRR Surge is. It's weird to me, though, that the consistency in which they deliver these episodes, it seems a little odd. Someone said the volume's off. I think the syncing is off, but I don't really know what to do with that right now. So if you guys can bear with me for this episode, we'll do what we can. But what I find is that the NWA seems to be very inconsistent with releasing this quality of the content, right? Because it appeared on the surface that we would go 3 episodes in and then an episode of POWERRR Surge. But we're only 2 episodes into the second cycle of the subscription service, and we're getting another recap show. Now, these recap shows, I mean, they're not all bad. I don't know why we're paying for a recap show. I mean, I feel like that's something that should be made available on Twitch, or excuse me, on YouTube. But for whatever reason, that's not the case, and that's okay. But I just feel like, again, that's another missed opportunity. I mean, we're paying for content, and I don't necessarily want to see a recap show. I don't want to pay for a recap show. I feel like paying for a recap show is actually a little insulting. You know, again, it's $5, and I understand for some people that's almost nothing. For some people, that's almost everything. It's not nothing, that's for sure. $5 is $5. But why am I paying for something that I've already watched? I watched all of these live. Well, I don't need to pay for a recap. That's something for people who aren't watching it. DKM says it can be on Fight, it just needs to be for free. And I agree, like, you could still keep it on Fight, but that shouldn't be part of my subscription package. That should be what's enticing other people to watch the show. Give me 4 episodes. And if you guys can't figure out how to pace yourselves on these tapings to get 4 episodes every month, then you need to restructure your taping schedule. I mean, you guys are getting an influx of cash from Fight. I mean, where's that money going? Are we just lining the pockets of Billy Corgan? And I'm all for Billy Corgan making as much money as possible on this project, but at the same time, I feel like as a consumer, I don't feel like I'm getting as good of an investment as I should be. The talent pool has not grown since the pandemic. I mean, since the show's become exclusive to Fight. I mean, look at some of the talents that are no longer here, right? Like Eli Drake, James Storm, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, Zicky Dice. You know, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about Jack Stain or Crimson or, you know, the introduction of Chris Adonis, but are we getting fair market value for these guys? I don't feel like we are. I feel like we should have better. I feel like there should be a better talent. And I'm sorry, Tyrus isn't the answer. If they're spending that money on Tyrus, then they're ripping me off, ripping you off. So, again, I always feel like this show is growing. I feel like it's a work in progress. But at some point, like, we have to stop making excuses for the Emperor. And we have to point out that he is naked. The show could be so much better than it is, and we keep paying for this show every week, and it's not really, it's not where it should be. You know, I recently started watching Championship Wrestling from Memphis, and I watched the first episode, and I wasn't overwhelmingly happy with it. But by the 9th episode, that's where they're at right now, I turned it on, and it was pretty good. Bunch of wrestlers I never heard from, never seen before, but I could easily get invested in it. Like that. And these aren't guys that used to wrestle in the WWE. These aren't guys that have big names. They're dudes from Memphis who are collectively in that Memphis area. They probably don't stretch much further out from Tennessee. You know, Nashville, Oak Ridge. You know, that's it. Clarksville. They're not really all these guys who are being seen around the world. They're local. But it was an interesting, entertaining 45-minute program. Why can't we have that on Power? Why is it so difficult to do that? Why are we getting 3 episodes of Power and then a recap show? Is anyone else upset with this? Does this bother anyone else? I mean, I'll be honest, guys. If the NWA name wasn't attached to this program, I don't think I'd be shilling it as hard as I have been. I don't know if I want to keep paying $5 a month for this. Some of your comments. Willie Bowen says, "Hi, J. Cal." Oops, missed it. I don't mean to ignore you guys. I just had to go on my tirade there for a minute. Let's see what your comments are. Stan's in the house. Willie's in the house. Terry says they don't hate the tag team division. It's just not important. I mean, that truer words may have never been spoken than that right there. Willie says that he would love to see Jack Stain wrestle Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold. I would love to see that match, actually. That would be a great match to see. I think it would be really cool. Oh, hey, Ron Shanks is now following us on Facebook. Thanks for the follow, Ron. Sorry. Anytime someone subscribes or likes the Facebook page or follows the Twitch feed, we get those little pictures that pop up. So sorry for the distraction, but it makes me laugh. Yeah, I think Jack Stain versus Aldis would be a very interesting match. One thing that I noticed recently is that Aldis seems to have really good matches with guys that are actually smaller than him. And I know that seems a little perplexing because the NWA wants to be the land of the giants. They want to have the super heavyweights, the heavyweights. They've made it perfectly clear. They want guys who can cut promos and guys who are big. And one of the things that I noticed is in the last several matches I've seen of Nick Aldis, whether it be Brian Pillman Jr. or Jason Strife or even Miracle Mike Bennett, each one of those guys were significantly smaller than Nick Aldis. And then going back to the Crockett Cup 2019, Marty Scurll was much smaller than Nick Aldis. And then thinking about Cody Rhodes, he was smaller than Nick Aldis. And when this promotion is filled with super heavyweights, it's kind of like, the best matches for Aldis are going to be the smaller guys. Maybe they should put Matt Cross in the ring with Nick Aldis for an episode of Power. I think that would be a lot of fun. Terry said, when is Nick going to stop talking? I mean, he's not. He's not. Nobody loves Nick Aldis more than Nick Aldis. Maybe Dr. Robert Stinson, but it's close. And I think he's going to keep talking. I think that's the MO of the show. We pointed out a couple weeks ago that Aldis had literally been on every episode to open the show except for episode 24. And he even said in an interview today he loves being the guy that we all hate. So don't be surprised if you see him do this more and more again. Let's see. Hey, Jimmy LB's here. Sorry I'm behind, guys. I'm just trying to get caught up. Willie, it's cool when you miss, man. We just love having you here. Lamb wants to point out this is not a recap show. It's POWERRR Surge. DKM says maybe they shouldn't be spending money on Tyrus and Idol, and I agree, man. I agree. I think that's a wasted endeavor. Yeah, I think that's not a good deal. Stan said that Aldis and Crimson had a great World Heavyweight title match in Tried and True. Yeah. Fiona says she misses Eli and James too. I mean, and I don't feel like they really went and got better. You know what I mean? Like, who could have been available out there? I mean, we've talked about it. There's a lot of talent recently released from the WWE, but even a year ago there was talent that was released from the WWE that still haven't been making their way anywhere. So who knows? I mean, we're still in that first month or so of the initial tapings. All these matches recorded back in March. Hey, Stanley just followed us on Facebook. Thanks for the follow, Stanley. All these matches were taped back in March. So if the talent seems a little stale, or you're already tired of them, I mean, we're stuck with them until the next tapings, which are going to be in June, right? So, I mean, that model of taping 2 or 3 months worth of television to release, I don't know if that's the best model. But again, we're all paying for this product. Imagine what would happen if that NWA fan base quit paying that money, right? Then maybe things would be different. Willie Bowen says Tyrus is a bum. Terry McDermott says Memphis has wrestling matches. Who care if they're not famous? Yeah, I mean, I agree. Fortification intensifies. I thought that said fornification. Fortification intensifies says yes. I don't like the recap show. I mean, like, again, the recap show in and of itself is not bad. The first show they did anyway was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. It certainly made for some interesting TV. But I feel like that could have been put on YouTube for an audience that is not familiar with the brand or has not been convinced to invest in that money. We're already seeing this. If we were paying that $4.99 every week, or every month, excuse me, we're paying to see this. So showing me a recap of what I've already paid to see, of course I've watched the episode. I paid for it. Doesn't make sense. Lamb says, like, more like no wrestling allowed. It kind of feels that way sometimes. Stan says I have to pay $10 for next month. Probably, right? Lamb says, and the NWA also releases the What You Missed highlight videos. Yeah, and those are actually pretty good. I actually watched both of them, and I thought they were pretty good. Fiona says, I'd rather have Power Weekly and Surge as an additional show. Fiona, you're right on it, right? Let's do that as a 5th show, but put it for free on Fight or on YouTube or wherever. I don't care if you just make it a Facebook exclusive. Give me my content that I pay for and make it worth my money. Make it valuable to me. And then put this free show out for everybody who's not paying to get them enticed to buy. It seems like that would be a very simple process to do. Stan asked, would your legion of hip fans go to your awesome website to buy NWA related DVDs if you did sell them as a one-stop shop on that ultra cool website of yours? I mean, look, if we've never really been a retailer, I'm sure that's something we could look into, but I don't even know how to begin that process. I've been looking for get-rich-quick schemes for the last 30 years, and I've yet to find one. Fortification intensifies says, yeah, but Flair wasn't wrestling monsters all the time in WWE either. NWA, sorry, not WWE. And you're right. Like, I don't need him to wrestle monsters. I need him to wrestle the best, right? I mean, Flair wrestled Dusty. Flair wrestled Steamboat. Flair wrestled Sting. Flair wrestled Luger. Flair wrestled Ricky Morton. Flair wrestled Nikita Koloff. Flair wrestled Hawk. Flair wrestled Animal. Flair wrestled everyone, right? Anyone with name value. Aldis hasn't been anywhere near that. I mean, he hasn't even faced the top guys on his show. He wrestled James Storm. He defended the title against Flip Gordon. He defended the title against, like I said, James Storm. Never once did he even share a ring with Eli Drake. He never wrestled Colt Cabana on Power. He never wrestled Ken Anderson on Power. You know, he didn't wrestle any of the top guys. And I'm not saying that I don't want Aldis to wrestle every week, but it would be nice to see him have a decent title match every once in a while. DCam says he thinks it's more exciting when a bigger guy sells for a smaller guy for most people. Yeah. I think what's fun is to see the little guy, do those high-flying maneuvers. You know, Jason Strife is a high flyer. Marty Scurll, he's not as much of a high flyer, but he is quick in the ring. He's nimble. Cody and Michael Bennett aren't in that same vein, but are very, good wrestlers. So you guys are talking so fast. I'm trying so hard to keep up. Lamb says, to quote Vince, you don't wrestle good on TV. You tell stories to sell the pay-per-view. Does Power build up the pay-per-view well? Good? Not for me. I mean, honestly, guys, I'm buying the pay-per-views based on the name alone. They haven't even announced a card yet, and we're like 2 or 3 weeks into having the title for the pay-per-view. Not one match has been announced yet. Does that bother anyone else? I refuse to buy the pay-per-view until they announce one name. Sorry, that's just me. goes the camera. Lamb says, I will not pay for the next pay-per-view. There you go. Stan says, Matt Cross had an awesome match against Nick Aldis. I was just watching it again today. Yeah, I need to catch that one. Ric Flair came out every week and cut a very similar promo. No, he did not. Fortification Intensify says, Lamb, he came out almost every week, but it moved the storyline along, unlike Aldis promos. Okay, you guys are, you're having your own discussion. Willie Bowen says, NWA Power should sign the sons of Kevin Von Erich. They can be great in the tag team division. Willie, the only problem is they're still locked up in their contract with MLW, and I don't think they've become free agents just yet. Stan said he already followed us on Facebook, but unfollowed just to see that guy run on the page. Nice. Lamb says the Von Erichs are good at MLW. You guys are, this is awesome. You guys are doing, carrying the load today. I'm trying to keep up with you, but you're so dang fast. Let me get a drink of water real quick because I'm parched. Dave Scooby says they need more videos that highlight the new talent. We know that his name is Slice Boogie, but who is he? Where is he from? Why is he in the NWA? Absolutely. And I mean, that's where I think that partnership would have been very instrumental had they stuck around with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, because that's really where Slice Boogie's been, and they could have had so much access to what he's done, what he's doing. Had that relationship been able to be maintained, they could have had a whole B-reel of just matches for Slice Boogie to showcase, but that didn't happen. I mean, do you guys remember when Slice Boogie took on Davey Boy Smith Jr. on Primetime Live? Because that was a phenomenal match and made me gain so much respect for Slice Boogie. Alright, let's see. There's a difference between wrestling super heavyweights and wrestling heavyweights. Heavyweights are like 230 to 270. Thanks, DK. Lamb says, is it still business, y'all? They signed with Fight, and we have to pay money to see the show. They will not change it. Multi-million-dollar contract. Fiona says, Fiona agrees with DKM about the weight class. Lamb says, wait until the 10 pounds of gold will be on Fight. Lamb says, what are you talking about, Jay? We all know the card for the pay-per-view. Fortification Intensify says, Aldis has wrestled so little that his credibility has started to slip. But where do they put that match anyway if he did? I mean, look, Aldis could wrestle anywhere on the card. That's the versatility of being the world's heavyweight champion. If you're going to put him in a non-title match, have him open up the show. If he's going to be defending his title, put him in the main event. The fact of the matter is that we're seeing more Aldis outside the ring in a suit and tie. Leads me to believe that he's not super interested in wrestling anyways. And, in the past, one of the hallmarks of a World's Heavyweight Championship for the National Wrestling Alliance was a champion who would travel from territory to territory. Aldis did that in his first run. Don't get me wrong, he was everywhere. His first run was the thing that makes a star. But what has he done since? And I get the global pandemic, and people keep going back to that. But I'm going to also say, look, man, I get that there's a global pandemic, but there are other places that are still operating, and they're doing it in a safe way, and they're doing it in a controlled environment. There's no reason why he can't be out there defending that title, especially when he's gone to places like Nebraska, Grimsley, Tennessee, Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, he's been out defending the title, just not with a lot of regularity. And I think that does diminish some of the credibility of a world's heavyweight champion if he's not out there defending the title. I mean, we've talked about this for months and months and months, but remember when Thunder Rosa was world champion? She defended the title everywhere, including AEW. So Lamb says, didn't Aldis wrestle the first episode after the pay-per-view? Yes, in a 6-man tag match. Dave Scooby says, Fiona, I found out his online real name is Milton, so I'd go by Slice too. Lamb says, talking about Dave Marquez, follow at Wrestle Atlanta for Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. I mean, that's exciting, guys. Maybe we'll do an episode where we talk about some of the things that are happening in the United Wrestling Network, because they are growing pretty quickly. I mean, we still don't have a world champion. That match between Dickinson and Bennett still hasn't happened yet, but they're doing some pretty big things. They have 2 regular shows that are new episodes every week in Hollywood and in Memphis, and the plan is to have a third one in Atlanta. They do localized shows for San Francisco and Arizona and Lake Charles in Louisiana, and then the plan is like Oregon and New York and St. Louis, and there's so many other places. It is really like the old territory system kind of coming back, and that's something that Marquez initially was totally against, but he found a way to make it work if they continue to produce these promotions. Of course, I'm not saying that the United Wrestling Network isn't without failures too. I mean, there's a lot of promotions that just have gone by the wayside. Championship Wrestling from Arizona used to be a self-sustained promotion. Now it's just part of the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood show. So, Stan says he has a feeling that Marquez will be back. I don't know. I mean, I know Dave Marquez pretty well, and I have a feeling that he isn't coming back anytime soon. Zicky Dice comes to United Wrestling Network for Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, how great would it be if you won the United Wrestling Network TV title from Levi Shapiro and became your TV champion again in Atlanta? That'd be awesome. Aldis versus Clearwater on Power was such a classic. Lamb is just cracking jokes today. Stan, we'll talk about that round robin tournament another day. We've got a lot to catch up with. Willie Bowen says the Bodega could have made an appearance on Power if the NWA would have stayed affiliated with Hollywood. I mean, they still could. The thing is none of the talent in Hollywood or Atlanta or Memphis, none of them are under strict contracts that will prevent them from showing up in the NWA. If the NWA wants them and wants to pay for them, they can. And Marquez has said time in, time out, he doesn't care if his talents appear in the NWA. He wants his talents to be able to work anywhere, including AEW and dark matches for the WWE and dark matches for Impact, whatever it takes. He just wants to see his people get experience and opportunity, which is pretty cool. He's never held anyone back because of that. Dodie says severed ties with David Marquez and do it in a bitter way is a huge mistake for the NWA, especially Aldis. Again, I don't think Aldis sees Dave Marquez as a loss. I don't think the NWA sees Dave Marquez as a loss. And honestly, I love Dave. He's my guy. I consider him a friend. But if I'm the NWA, I need to focus on what is going to make me profitable, what's going to make my brand grow. I think working with Dave was a smart move. I still think it is. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be the person that gets people to watch Power. He's just not. And if the NWA is only focused on Power and doing Power, it doesn't matter what Marquez and United Wrestling Network is doing. And honestly, Dave Marquez doesn't really care what the NWA is doing. Fight TV is where the NWA is at, right? Championship Wrestling from Hollywood airs on KDOC Channel 56 out here in Southern California. Not sure where. CW Memphis is on CW 30, I guess. And Championship Wrestling from Atlanta is supposed to air on Peachtree TV. These don't intersect. You can still watch Fight TV for your NWA, and you can still watch Championship Wrestling from Atlanta, be it Peachtree TV or YouTube or whatever. It doesn't prevent you as a fan. You don't have to pick and choose. You could watch it all. That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, honestly, that's what I think you all should be trying to do. Fiona says she thinks Marquez is out on his own. Absolutely, he is. There's been a delineation between the two brands. Mortification intensifies. Why do they keep Idol on if he spends all of his time putting himself over? I mean, you're speaking to the converted, man. We're here in the house of the NWA, and we're saying no to Austin Idol, no to putting yourself over, no to making Velvet Sky feel creeped out, no to this weird stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know why they spend money on Austin Idol. When he's quiet, when he isn't sitting there jaw-jocking and trying to get himself over, he can be very useful. I just don't see him doing that. And the one episode he was shut up and did his role as a manager was when Tyrus and the Pope went at it back and forth. And I don't feel like they're doing that enough. They should do it more. Lamb says he was kicked out of the NWA once, not twice. No, Lamb, he was kicked out twice. The Trobich era, when that came to a close, and Bruce Tharpe took over, he was basically asked to leave the NWA, as many other members were. And that was also kind of a very unsatisfying time as an NWA fan, because there were some good things that were coming, and some good things did happen. But you saw promotions like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, who had done so much to help promote the NWA brand, just get tossed by the wayside. So, Doty's giving me crap now. I'm getting phone calls from Texas. I think Bruce Tharpe is on the horn. That'd be funny if it was. Lamb says, and the difference will be Championship Wrestling from Atlanta will use local Atlanta talent, not old WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor talents. I mean, I wish they'd use both. I think there's room for both. Again, watching Championship Wrestling from Memphis and seeing a bunch of guys I didn't know reminded me of what I liked about the NWA in the old days, when I didn't know everyone, and some of the guys like you saw who were nobodies would become somebodies. And I think there's still opportunities to do this. I mean, we saw that with Ricky Starks. We saw it with the Question Mark. They took people who weren't well known and made them into something. Zicky Dice had been on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for a couple of years, but didn't really get name recognition until he was the NWA television champion. You can't tell me otherwise. And there's so many good talents out there that the NWA could be bringing in who are no names. Again, Slice Boogie is a good example. I'm not trying to put him down, but him and Jordan Clearwater aren't national names, but they can be. Just got to give it time. Let's see. Austin Idol called Aldis primetime before the CZW World Title match in which Aldis won the world title. Yeah. Stan says, "Would you like me to invite Bruce Tharpe to this?" That's a no. I haven't. The interview that I did with Bruce Tharpe, it's in the vault. Haven't brought it out yet. And man, he made so many grandiose claims. Right? He said he was going to have books written about the NWA, that they were going to do a national television program, that they were going to bring stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling to the NWA, and that's the one that stuck. Of all the grandiose claims, of all the things I thought were so ridiculous, he got New Japan to buy in. Now, I mean, they didn't buy the NWA, but they brought in talents from New Japan. I mean, we had Hiroshi Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, Jushin Thunder Liger, Jetto, if I'm saying his name right, and then the Americans who went to New Japan under the NWA banner. I mean, Wes Briscoe, Big Daddy Yum Yum, Michael Tarver, Jax Dane, Chase Owens, Rob Conway, Steve Anthony. I mean, look, man, I just named 6 guys you've probably never even heard of that were in the NWA, but they all got to go to Japan based on that relationship that New Japan had with the NWA. And that's pretty damn cool, man. I mean, we have the world's heavyweight title and the world tag team titles defended in Japan. The world heavyweight champion wrestled at Wrestle Kingdom. Could you imagine if today, if 2022 rolls around and Wrestle Kingdom and you get Nick Aldis versus Satoshi Kojima or Chase Owens or somebody from the Bullet Club? I don't even care. Could you imagine how big that would be for the NWA? It'd be incredible. You got to give Bruce Tharpe some credit. You got to give him some credit. Do I love the guy? No. Did I think he actually killed the NWA? I mean, he got as close as anyone ever could. But that time that he had his talents in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you can't take away from that. No, absolutely not. Stan says you have to check out that interview when I take it out of the vault. If I took that interview out of the vault, there would be a riot. A lot of my friends who were formerly with the NWA hated that I did that interview in the first place, and I just don't think I could do it. I don't. Willie Bowen says Charlie Haas would be a great addition to NWA Power. I agree, Willie, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Because Charlie Haas is only a part-time pro wrestler right now. And the NWA, this is going to get me some heat, the NWA is a part-time pro wrestling promotion. For now. That could change. It was supposed to change. It was going to change. But it's still a part-time wrestling promotion because you've taped 4 shows, 4 days worth of wrestling, and this is what we have. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good about NWA Power. There's a lot of things I enjoy about it. It is really, I only watch about 2 or 3 wrestling programs a week. Power's always one of them. But again, they don't tour. They only produce 45 minutes of live TV a week. They're sitting on hours of footage because they have to slowly release it because they don't have the time or money or whatever to keep continually make new content. Their filming schedule is actually more delayed than Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's. And, Dave Marquez doesn't have as much money as Billy Corgan. I feel like, yes, it is an independent wrestling promotion. And yes, they're not backed by billionaires, but I feel like they could be doing more with what they have, and they're just choosing not to. And I don't know if they're just being cautious because of the pandemic, or if they just feel like they don't need to. Dodie says, well, Tony Brooklyn deserves more credit for the NWA New Japan. Hey, Dodie, you're right. Chris Ronquillo and Fred Rubenstein, they all deserve credit for the success and the failure of the NWA. But at the end of the day, Bruce Tharpe was the one that was he was the straw that stirred the drink. He's the one that really leveraged the NWA into the way it got leveraged. He was the one that started the lawsuit. He was the catalyst for all of it. So you can give Ronquillo the credit, but who put Ronquillo in his place? Bruce. Stan says, I paid more than $200 for a New Japan Blu-ray DVD set because of the NWA champ Conway at Wrestle Kingdom. That's a lot of cheddar. Dave Scooby says, will Great Muta come after Aldis since they are both champs? When travel restrictions are released, right, I would imagine that the NWA will work with whoever the NWA can. We knew that the NWA was going to do a show in we know that the World Heavyweight Champion was going to defend the 10 pounds of gold in Puerto Rico against Carlitos, right? We knew that was going to happen. There's a lot of talk, speculation that there was a tour set up, that they were going to go to the UK. It was recently announced Preston City Wrestling was going to have an event featuring Tom Latimer and Kamille. I don't know if that event has changed, but that was in the works. And all of these things were in play to happen. Billy Corgan even mentioned that they had talked to a couple of concert venues about setting up live wrestling events. So they were going to do things. They weren't just going to sit there at the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. And even though their pay-per-view is also going to be at the GPS, the Crockett Cup was supposed to be at a smaller arena in Atlanta. A much larger venue than obviously the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios, but it was a step in the right direction. Pandemic is going to put a pause on all of that, and that's completely understandable. But it's time for them to take those next steps now. The world is starting to reopen. We can't continue to blame the pandemic forever. So having Great Muta come in, that would certainly sell tickets. And Aldis has even mentioned that before, that he's gone out there to try to bring names to the NWA. We'll see how that all plays out, right? Stan, thanks for stopping by, man. We'll see you next time. Sean Mega says, being cautious is sometimes best for business. Again, Sean, I don't blame you on that one either, right? I'm a business owner, and we do take precautions. We don't do business as usual. Things have changed. But how much longer can you blame the pandemic? It's time to adapt, pivot, time to move forward. This deal with Fight TV, why didn't they do that 3 months earlier? Or if they're going to do that, then roll with it. Fiona says that the PCW show hasn't changed yet. I'm heading down for it. Awesome. Fiona, I want a full report. We'll broadcast it here. You could do the pre-show for that one. We'll just take your phone and we'll post it up here on the Alliance blog. Let's see. So tonight, we haven't even talked about the show tonight, and it's about 10 minutes until showtime, right? Or 20 minutes. DKM says move to Texas where you can have crowds. I mean, look, Mission Pro just put on the show, right? Mission Pro just had a great show. In fact, if you go to our YouTube page, or excuse me, our Facebook page, we posted a match from Holly Dead and Jennacide, and they did the match there in Texas, live audience, no problem. Let me see. Getting back to your comments, Fortification intensifies this. If they're going to only do 3 shows a month, they need to make every second count. They could at least fill POWERRR Surge with promos and vignettes. Dodie says, or move to Florida. Fiona says, I can put you guys in contact. DKM is on the Discord. Fiona, if you want to message him, you guys can work something out. DKM says maybe we can adopt you. Okay, so the match that we're getting tonight is Skye Blue taking on Jennacide. Now, Jennacide and Skye Blue made their debut in the NWA as a tag team. They actually looked really good against Thunder Rosa, and that's dead. They actually looked really good against Thunder Rosa, and Alexa, I can't remember her name. Well, that's no fair. I can't remember her name. Graciana, I think it was. But it was a good match until Miss sorry, I'm getting a little confused here. Until Kamille interrupted. It was good until that happened, but I mean, it should be noted that it was a pretty fun match, and I really felt like we saw something start there with Jennacide, because at the end of the match, the stare down between her and Kamille, I feel like this match that we're seeing today, the spotlight match, should have been maybe on the first episode of POWERRR Surge, because it would have done more to kind of help put Jennacide over, because I mean, I don't know for sure, I haven't read spoilers or anything, but I think Jennicide's going to win this match. I don't have any reason to tell me that, I just have that gut feeling. But I mean, she is the only person so far, only woman in wrestling to stand next to Kamille and match her for size and strength, right? And again, that match that she had with Holly Dead was a real barn burner. She's a tough chick, and she came out there and she proved it. Now, Skye Blue has actually been in the business longer than Jennacide. In fact, she's been in the business a whole year longer, and she's currently the 01 USA, the CSW, and the LLT Women's Champion. She regularly wrestles in the Midwest, but I mean, even recently she's been appearing on AEW, Game Changer Wrestling, First Wrestling. So, I mean, she's a very well accomplished talent, and of course, her competing in Mission Pro, that's kind of where Thunder Rosa comes into play, why she's had some of these opportunities with the NWA and this showcase match. But again, I think if Jennacide, thanks Dave Scooby, Alex Gracia, had Jennacide had this match earlier, I felt like the match between her and Kamille might have meant a lot more. But, that's how it goes. Fiona says, I'll do the post-show interviews with Tom and Kamille. I'm excited to catch up with them. Awesome. Sean says, at least do squash matches against local wrestlers to add more action. Sean, I'm with you on that as well. I mean, the thing is, I don't know how the TV setup is there. I've been backstage at Hollywood enough times that I know the kind of ins and outs and how they do their shows. I know that they do promos for from between 11 to 2 o'clock. They record promos, they do interviews. Guys are in the ring stretching, guys are out there talking about their matches, and then when it comes to the actual wrestling show, it's live in front of an audience, or at least it used to be when I would go. And there very few moments would be, very few interviews and whatnot would be recorded in front of an audience. Most of that stuff would be recorded backstage. The Georgia Public Broadcasting Studio is, in fact, a studio. It is a fully modernized studio. They do lots of programs from that studio. It wouldn't take much for them to, carve out another area in the building to do all their promos while they're recording matches, and even having, like you said, dark matches, squash matches. I mean, give me an Odinson and Paro match where they just squash two nobodies, right? Give me a match where, a somewhat competitive match with Mims taking on somebody we don't know. Give me a match where Slice Boogie gets an easy win on somebody I've never heard of from before. I think that'd be very smart and a good way to elevate your talent, and putting these quick little matches in between, putting them on POWERRR Surge or putting an additional match on POWERRR, whatever they do, I think that's more beneficial. I think that would really help out in the long run. Dodie says, and always the women's division is the biggest reason why POWERRR is still credible. And can you believe that? Because right now that women's division is credible based on the back of Thunder Rosa. That's Mission Pro. Like these are called spotlight matches because they're not NWA matches, they're Mission Pro matches. Dodie says Jennacide can be good replacement if Thunder Rosa some days leaves. I mean, we think Thunder Rosa is going to be gone at the end of the year. And we know her contract expires December 31st, 2021. So we'll see what happens. Dodie says Paro and Odinson squashing the Dawsons. I mean, I don't even think the Dawsons are associated with the NWA at this point. Terry says use Jordan Clearwater. Yes. Lamb says, wait, we don't all love talking segments? Should the whole episode of POWERRR be filled with talking segments? I mean, the marquee still says National Wrestling Alliance, not National Talking Alliance. So, but guys, holy crap. That was the fastest 54 minutes in the history of wrestling. And for whatever reason, my the show's been recording. It didn't need to be. Anyways, we got 10 minutes till start time for the National Wrestling Alliance POWERRR Surge. If you are subscribed to Fight TV, get yourself a drink, go use the restroom, enjoy yourself, enjoy the POWERRR Surge. We'll be here on Thursday to talk about it. Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Until then, if you like to wear a cool hat like this one, or a cool, well, not this one, but a cool t-shirt that has this logo on it, you can visit us at alliance-wrestling.com and check the merch section. Last week we had James H. Jackson Jr. purchase not only the sweater, but the t-shirt as well. And the week before, he bought one of these hats. You could be just like James and do the same. And then follow us on all social medias at the Alliance Blog. That's Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok. You're here on YouTube or Twitch, and we appreciate you being here. And that's really going to do it for us, guys. Lamb is in Germany and has this logo on 2 shirts. So there's no excuse for you not to have it on 1. Just kidding. Your support is all I actually really ask for, guys. Your eyeballs, your viewership, you being here every week is really what makes this show fun for us. If you want to support, great, but please don't feel obligated to do so. But that's going to do it for us this time. Again, make sure get yourself hydrated, go use a good restroom, and get back to some action on Fight TV. And we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good night now, and may the 4th